The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised. Caution. You are now entering the all-consuming realm of Shay's Paranormal Chat, where the things that are better left unsaid are actually said.
Shut up and sit down.
You're listening to Shay's Paranormal Chat. Paranormal podcasting done Shay's way. Tons of fun.
Dude, seriously?
A bit sarcastic.
Hashtag investigator, not hunter.
But always real.
Hashtag data, not evidence.
Don't get your panties in a twist.
Oh my god, really?
This is real, raw conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Good evening, everybody. TGIF, as always. I am extra excited tonight. We have an awesome guest, and you know how I like to mess up names, so I'm going to save my mess up for a little bit. But first, I want to say thank you to Miss Ashley Storm. Hey, girl, how you doing?
I'm wunderbar. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I am happy to have you here. I'm happy to have our guest here. It's going to be really good.
It really is. I'm super freaking excited.
It's going to be really good. And I should have asked you this before, but since we had some tech trouble beforehand, is it okay that, well, it has to be okay. I'm going to say it live on air. Congratulations on your new endeavor, your new adventure.
Thank you so much. I still can't sleep because of it.
Do you want to say what it is, or no?
I'm the co-owner of the Broken Bow Asylum in Broken Bow, Oklahoma now, y'all. Woo, woo.
No, I'm so happy for you, so I just wanted to give you a little shout out. That's awesome. That is awesome. So our next guest, and again, if I mess up your name, it's kind of standard practice here because of my Massachusetts roots. I don't pronounce anything like you're supposed to. But Jason Hewlett?
That's right.
See, some names I get. Jason is the host, writer, director, investigator of We Want to Believe. I'm super excited to have you here.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Let me get rid of... we had some tech issues, so anybody that knows me knows if my show starts at 8:01, we had tech issues because it's like 8 o'clock on the dot every time. Before we get into the interview part, I'm so excited because I haven't had an investigator on in a little bit, like 3 weeks. For me, that's a long time. So we get to play This or That with Jason.
This or that?
Yes, it's a game. It's like 5 or 6 questions.
Okay.
And you just pick the one that you lean towards more. There's no right or wrong answers.
That's not true. I got the wrong answers and she spanked me.
I know. I'm silently judging. Silently judging. So, you know. Hey, by the way, the first thing I read was the description of the show. And in the description of Jason's show, it says something like, I can't quote it exactly, somewhat serious discussion. So I knew he was going to fit right in here.
Okay.
It's true. All right, you ready?
Sure, let's do it.
I'm going to give you 2 choices, and you just go with whatever's wrong, and don't worry about all of us silently judging you.
Okay. No problem.
All right. Investigator or ghost hunter?
Ooh, investigator.
See? You got one right. Data or evidence?
Ooh, we go with evidence usually.
Okay.
Now we're judging.
Well, there's always like the quotes on either side of evidence. You know what I mean?
I did know that. I saw your guy talk about that.
Yeah.
Your investigator. I did see that. We'll get more into this. Provoking negatively or no way?
No way.
No way. Good answer. See, that's the only question that matters. Residential or commercial?
Ooh. Cool. That's a good one. Residential's neat, but we usually end up with commercial. How does that work? That's not on the fence kind of answer.
Yep. I get you. Orb or dust?
Dust.
Yeah. Recorder or video?
Ooh, recorder, although we're moving more to video. How's that for another one? Digital recorder, right?
Yep. Here we go. The last question. Demon or just an asshole ghost?
Just an asshole ghost.
See? I knew I was going to like you.
Had you answered that third one differently, though, she would have hung up on you. We wouldn't have had a show. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the game would have stopped and I would have, because I had to add the negative part because people are like, well, you ask good questions, that's provoking in itself. And I'm like, you know what I mean, people. Come on.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I just don't, they were once living and they deserve respect, so.
Well, exactly. And I mean, that's something people, especially when you see on a lot of TV shows, they seem to forget that.
Yeah.
All the time, I guess, because it makes for better theatrical television, but it's not a very accurate depiction of how you should go about conducting an investigation.
Exactly.
Absolutely not. And that's one of the huge things that Steph started doing, public tours. And my thing is finding places that's actually safe to take people. Just because a place is haunted doesn't mean you should be taking public groups. It's finding safe places to take these people, but trying to get out of the minds of everyone who gets into this because they've watched the TV shows and stuff, that the way that they conduct their investigations, one, that's not how it really works, especially when we're doing like the paid events when people come. Like, you guys are going to have to wait. We have a 12-hour investigation ahead of us. It's not just going to be instant. You're watching a TV show, something happens 5 minutes into it. It's not how that works. And so it's a very big shell shock for people when they realize that when you're investigating, it's really just sitting around a dark-ass, kind of smelly place for the most part, usually, location for 9 hours waiting for just one thing to happen most of the time.
That's very, very true. And that's something like with We Want to Believe, we've tried to show the reality of what it's like to do an investigation, because it is. You spend a lot of time just sitting in the dark, waiting for something to happen, asking questions, and sometimes nothing happens, right? Like for the entire time you're out. And then other times, maybe you get something in the first 5-10 minutes, but then there's nothing the rest of the night. And then there's the odd night where you get a whole bunch of stuff can happen. But it's a crapshoot every time, every single time.
It really is. I agree.
One of the things that I found about you, because I always do like FBI research, and don't worry, I don't go as far into the guests as I do like people that I'm vetting for like my best friends today and stuff, because the FBI, I'm surprised it's not showing up on my doorstep to help. Shay almost spit out her coffee. I can see her. Because she knows exactly what I'm talking. She knows I'm good. So what I ended up finding was one of the quotes, and the quote is by an anonymous person, but the way that it is describing the entirety of your show is just, it's one that I would freaking watch. So it says, "We Want to Believe is a paranormal reality show that takes on non-Hollywood approaches to the pseudoscience of paranormal investigation. Episodes chronicle investigations by writer and director investigator Jason Hewlett, paranormal investigator Peter Wren, and their team as they tackle haunting spectral encounters, Bigfoot, UFO sightings, and other high strangeness, but no false evidence, no camera tricks, and no special effects. This is the real deal. What you see is raw and intact." And you can go to my YouTube page to see how I love raw and intact, because all of my documentaries are like 6-7 hours. because you see the whole thing. There's nothing edited or cut. There's just what it is, so you can experience it
as is
with no guidance.
Yeah.
And I'm super freaking excited to see you do this. So can you describe a little bit about what it's going to be like without giving away so much that people are like, oh, I already know what it's about then, so I don't want to watch it.
Well, and there's the trick. But we've been doing, we've got about 6 episodes in now. And they're up at Joe Blow Horror Videos. The one thing we had to do is, so we go out, the way we kind of do the show is because we're tied into Vancouver Paranormal Society. Our lead investigator is Peter Wren. He's been doing paranormal investigations for 27 years all over the world. And he's currently the president of Vancouver Paranormal Society. So because we're doing the show, and I'm a director with Vancouver Paranormal Society as well. So what happens is we'll get a case come up through Vancouver Paranormal, and then we'll go and we'll film it. And that sort of becomes the basis for our episodes. And what we try to do is, you know how investigations go. You're right. You're up to some 9 hours, 24 hours, however long it goes. Then we take that footage back and attempt to put it into a digestible format, because it is on a YouTube channel that's run by Joe Blow. And Joe Blow is like one of the biggest entertainment network sites in the world. So they have some criteria, right? They want each episode to be about 10 minutes. So our first one, which we called The Demon Jar, became 4 10-minute episodes. The one that just wrapped up this month was The Barn. It was a 2-parter. So we kind of look at what we've got when we're done and figure out how to put it into a format that fits kind of how Joe Blow wants it in terms of the length. But we do make... Pardon me, sorry?
Without giving up any integrity of what you're doing, instead of having to cut it down to make that 10 minutes incredibly... or I guess editing it to make that 10 minutes incredibly captivating, you can pick through what you have to do so. And I think I like it like that. I like that it's not overdone, it seems like.
No, we don't overdo anything. So what you're seeing in terms of investigation-wise is as it happens at the location, right? Because I have a film background as well, so I kind of use the filmmaker in me always has to work alongside the investigator in me and how to present that. So, I edit it in a way that you get the whole story in the time allotted without compromising what's going on investigation-wise. If you have an investigation where you spend 4 hours and you get 1 EVP, because it is for an audience, I don't want to, I try to make that, okay, well, to get the point that not much happened until this EVP came up.
Yeah.
And do it that way. Yeah, but we don't overplay, the evidence isn't played up. I don't do like some shows where you try to build up to where you get the evidence and make it like this false scare, because I really hate that.
And then they released the EVP that was like, hello, and that was what you did for the whole episode.
yeah, you're building, for 20 minutes to get to that, right? And that's not, I don't think that's fair to the people watching it either, because I've watched those shows and I'm like, here we go, and then it's nothing. Or it's like, oh, a door slam, sorry. And that's annoying. And it hurts the credibility of people in our field who try to present things that way. Because as you ladies know, it doesn't work in that sense. Paranormal investigation is not really all that exciting. There's exciting moments, but as a whole, you're like a detective in a location trying to figure out what happened there and what is potentially there waiting for you.
Oh, yes.
Yep. Can we talk about the haunted barn? What happened? The non-paranormal.
Sure.
The non-paranormal. I think it was the haunted barn. You guys had some visitors called on you?
Where the police showed up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was a first for everybody. Peter's done that for 27 years, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the haunted barn is an interesting one anyways, but the fact that this barn, it's a beautiful location. If you've watched it, you've seen it. It's a great spot, and it's on this kind of main road. So, we're there with our crew, and we're filming. We've got cameras, right? Cameras set up there, they're Canons and stuff like that. And I guess someone had driven by, saw one of our people filming up near the road, thought it was a gun, phoned it, didn't stop to check. If I thought
it saw a gun, I wouldn't stop to check either. So, but
they phoned it in as an active shooter shooting at two vehicles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we weren't doing, obviously, with their cameras filming, but we had 3 police cars show up And all they were all, I mean, they're like how police would be going to a place where they figure it's a, you know, an active shooter. They're pretty tense and ready for something to go down. Fortunately, Sean, who's, you know, does our music and is an executive producer, he deals with police a lot in his day job. So he knew all the things to kind of do to calm the situation down. Peter, you know, went and showed the ghost hunting gear that we had and explained what we were doing. And everyone left happy. But that was
cute cop, he said.
The cute cop, yeah. He worded, I went and showed her my equipment.
Yeah.
You know, Peter's charmingly British, I guess. You can get away with things like that. But it was, yeah, that was bizarre. Like just a bizarre thing. I mean, it made for good, you know, viewing and stuff like that. But that was a first. That was the last thing we expected. And Dee, who owns the bar, was almost mortified that would happen. But it happens, right? It's, you know.
Well, can I say to that extent, though, that this is one of the first pieces of advice I give anybody is I always, no matter where I am, I always let the local police station know that I'm going to be there ahead of time. And I always have them either doing shifts out front of where I'm investigating or having them do walkthroughs with me beforehand, because a lot of the places I do are like abandoned buildings and stuff. I have them do walkthroughs with me and stuff, but I always make sure that they know that I'm there because, you know, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, people see lights shining in a building that's supposed to close. I've watched too many Forensic Files and other shows to know that it'll always end up not good for Stormy D. So I always let the police know.
Good call on that. And that's something was a good takeaway for us, right? The last thing, especially during the daytime, you know, like we didn't figure it would
like
be.
in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah, it was middle of the afternoon, and you know, it wasn't like it was like it was a rural road, but you know, obviously well traveled enough that you know you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, people thought.
But yeah, it was. Yeah, you know, shooting. But I guess you know it was just after we ended our kind of COVID lockdown here, and people were feeling a little tense, and yeah.
But it shows.
So that happened.
It shows you guys in a real light that you shared it, because there's some teams you should see what I share all bloopers, but you guys shared it. And some people would hide that and like not do it, but you guys are just like so real that you're like, hey, guess what happened? This is kind of awesomely funny.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. You know, and I was inside when it all went down. So we were leaving, and Brandon, one of my cinematographers, was walking by later, and he goes like, "The cops are outside," and I'm like, "What?"
Wasn't it like 5 or 6 cruisers?
Something like that, yeah, something like that. You know, 3 to 5, somewhere in there. Because I mean, they were ready for action.
Oh yeah.
So, you know.
Go, y'all. It's okay.
Yeah. Before we move on, you want to give shout outs to the rest of the crew members? I think is there 5 of them, 6 of them, 5?
There's a bunch, yeah. There's myself, of course. Then there's Sean Knippelberg, who's an executive producer, and he does the music. Peter Wren, who's an executive producer and our lead investigator. Marcus Floor, who's an executive producer and one of our cinematographers. Brandon Knippelberg, who's Sean's oldest boy. He does cinematography as well. Sarah Jane, who's one of our investigators. And then we recently welcomed, he hasn't been in an episode yet, it's an upcoming one, Chris Bowes, who's kind of doing some filming for us. And he's Aboriginal, so he kind of provides sort of our First Nations perspective on things as well, who's come on board. So that's the entire team.
Awesome.
At this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, anybody that has not seen it, check it out. And Ashley, nothing wrong with, I'm one that likes to put out these huge clips myself too, but then I put up the short ones. But they're direct, they're right to the point, and this is what we got, and they're great. So check them out.
Thank you.
No, they
Thank
really
you so
are.
much.
They don't only cover paranormal, y'all. So they also cover Bigfoot, cryptids, UFOs, everything spooky, dark. So
Ashley, that is paranormal.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but most people don't understand that because
you're right
when I started my podcast, because that's exactly what I tried to bring it as, all things paranormal. And people were like, "Oh, so you're just going to talk about ghosts?" I'm like, no. Paranormal is more than just that. So that's why I do the whole spiel of serial killers, UFOs, cryptids, and all things dark history and ghosts. Like I have to let them know I literally cover everything weird. I love weird, spooky shit.
Yep.
So that's what we cover on my podcast. And so you get a little bit of everything with their show. You don't just get ghosts experiences or spirit experiences. You get UFOs and
that is some of, in my opinion, and you guys can correct me if you don't agree, that's one of the biggest misconceptions is paranormal just covers ghosts. That's the lack of education or lack of communication that we're not getting across, that paranormal is just anything out of the norm. It's, that's, you know.
So everything's supernatural.
Yep.
Literally anything that's
right?
mystical, magical. Yeah. That's what I was so confused. I was like, wait, no, but it's not. And it's easier to just add in a few words than keep arguing with people.
Well, because we are in a world where no one can have a difference of opinion.
Oh my God!
Or
right?
heaven forbid, we don't all get along and think the same thing, right?
I think it'd be much better world if you could just put easily butthurt across people's forehead.
Yeah, my wife gets a bit upset when I mention things like that. You know, it's like people can be such boneheads.
Yeah, you know. If you haven't noticed, you can swear in here.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I've been being very politely Canadian so far. So
no, you're good. You're good. I have cut back on my F-bombs.
I've been trying to just because of Oliver, but other than that, oh my God, I've done so good. I think I only cursed like once so far. Shay, I should get a cookie.
Actually, you like 5 or 6 times. You've cursed more than me.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
See?
There you go.
So what do you think about
this is going to be one of those
like,
guests that we need to have back because my show's only an hour long and we're not going to fit it all in. So definitely,
no.
Jason, I would
Anytime.
I'm saying right out of the gate, I want you back. So.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Because there are lots of people, again, who are in the paranormal that only do ghosts, right? Don't do anything else. So anytime I run into somebody who does all of it, you know, I have this question, and it's so crazy because everybody has a completely different answer every time. I'm very excited to hear what yours is going to be. I'm just giving you time to mentally prepare for it.
All right, I'm doing that. I'm focusing, you know.
All right. So, have you ever heard of the incidents where people run into cryptids such as Bigfoot, Mothman, and anything else that you'd like to think of? But mostly it's the Bigfoot and Mothman instances where they have some type of UFO activity in the sky as well when they're encountering it.
No, I haven't, but I've heard of it. Do you know what I mean? Like I haven't met someone that's had that, but I've heard much about that, you know, and I have interesting conversations with people on that level. And I know where we recently filmed some Bigfoot episodes that are going to air in the new year. And the area where we were has also been prone to UFO sightings as well. I mean, I'm
so then
kind
what
of
is your
two
thought
minds.
process then on that? Because some people, when I ask, they don't know about it. So then we go a little bit more into depth. And then I'll ask, you know, how do you feel about that? So you do know about it. So let's get into it. What do you think it is? Like, why do you think that those things end up coinciding so often? Because it's not just a coincidence for, you know, that many stories to have that type of background in it. And that same instance happening all over the world.
It's, for me, I have two minds about it. Because there's the one part of me, there's the investigative part. Like I was a journalist for 10 years, so I have that journalistic, I want all the facts, right, before I jump to any kind of answer. And I hate explaining an unknown with an unknown. Because, you know, we haven't proven Bigfoot one way or the other, and we haven't proven UFOs one way or the other. But there is enough of these to coincide. I kind of fall into, like, you know, I'm beginning to fall into the John Keel camp, where he felt all this stuff, Bigfoot, UFOs, Mothman, all that, it's all one thing. It's all one thing. Yes, and it's kind of presenting itself in different ways. And to me, that's beginning to make a lot of sense. In a way that's a bit out there, but it just people have been seeing things since the dawn of time, right? Even in the Bible, they're writing about, you know, ghosts and UFOs and stuff like that. And our perceptions of all these things have changed over time. You know, the example I like to give is when people reported UFOs in the Victorian era, they're like flying dirigibles, right? And now we're seeing things that look like stealth bombers. So I think whatever it is has been around forever. We've been seeing it forever. And just as we progress, it's kind of adapting itself to look like what we would expect it to look like, if that makes sense.
Okay, so we're best friends now.
Okay.
I have been saying this since, and nobody ever listened to me because everybody thought I was crazy. They're like, it's conspiracy theories, whatever. I'm like, no, when you think about it, man, it really, really makes sense. Just, And so I always said, what if when we're having the UFO sightings and the cryptid sightings at the same time, whether it be Bigfoot, and like I said, it's not always just Bigfoot, it's a bunch of different types of cryptids that they see having the same encounters. Now, aliens are smart enough and they have who knows what type of technology and capabilities that what if we're catching them in a moment, and they've adapted to sit there and be like, oh, we're just going to turn into a Bigfoot or a Mothman and different things like that because they're just going to say those people are crazy. Oh, look, there's that person telling the story about the big stinky ape man again. Haha, they're not going to listen to you.
Oh, what if they turn into your biggest fear?
Right, or anything. It could be anything, and that's why we never capture these things because of the way that they have electronic interference disturbing technology so far as lots of people in not just the U.S. American armed forces, but armed forces globally have reported this happening, the interference with their technology or their capabilities, whether it be on their boats or aircraft carriers and stuff. I mean, it's too strange for it not to be the same type of thing, if that makes any sense.
We look at Skinwalker Ranch, right? Yes. And all the phenomena at Skinwalker Ranch. They had everything happen at Skinwalker Ranch. You know what I mean? Like every single thing from poltergeist activity to like werewolfy looking things to creatures coming out of portals to orb, you know what I mean? UFOs. And even they had a team of scientists there from NIDS for 3 years. And they saw it. They had lots of personal experiences, but every effort to photograph it or videotape it just wouldn't really turn out. Like they had guys with PhDs watching portals open and things stepping out of it. But on the film, it was just like this little red-orange blip that they couldn't make sense out of. So whatever it is way smarter than we are. And way more technically advanced than we are.
Oh, yes. And we have clear depictions from it from earlier civilizations where they weren't relying on technology to capture these creatures. They were relying on their memories. And you know what I'm saying? So, like you said, in the earliest civilizations, and these are places that had absolutely zero way of communicating with one another from so far apart. Like, it's just...
And you have different centuries drawing basically the same stuff on walls.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly, right? And it's been around forever. So, I think, it's trying to prove it's always the hardest part, and I don't think we ever will.
No, we can't.
Personally, we can't, but because it's something that's living alongside us. Just any of the natural phenomena as a wind or a virus or you know what I mean? Like it's just another part of our planet that's just there. And we just haven't been able to...
Freaking
yeah.
That's the first time I've ever heard that same thought. I freaking love it. Thank you so much. Shane,
you're welcome.
You did a good job tonight. I like it.
Oh, he's awesome. He can be a regular. I love him. I really do. I love this stuff. Yep. I'm going to give a few shout-outs because I'm really bad. My Spreaker always locks up at the end, and I can't give all the shout-outs. So I usually do it in the beginning, but I was so excited that I did it. We have Mimi in here. We have Mama Deb. We have Cynthia. And if I miss you, I'm very sorry. We have Matt in here who says, God help you for having to be on the show with me and Ashley at the same time.
That's awesome.
And that's as far back as I can go. I, the Beholder's in there. Thank you, A. And we have a few people that could not... A lot of the Iowa peeps have an event tonight, but we have a question I usually start off with, but I got right into things tonight. The question's from Darren. And it's one I usually always ask investigators. What got you into the paranormal to begin with?
Oh, well, it was kind of a couple of things. One of them, when I was very young, I had kind of this weird, frightening encounter in my mom's car. We were stopping to pick up a friend of mine. They were going to come over for a sleepover. And I was in the car. My mom was out talking to my friend's mom, and my friend was inside the house. And I was sitting in the back seat, and I remember it was a hatchback. It was a Gremlin. I don't know if you guys remember those cars, but it was quite ugly.
I'm that old.
Yeah, they're fucking horrible.
Yeah, I'm that old.
It was a purple Gremlin, too.
Purple,
Which is awful. But and it's as an aside, my mom owned a Mustang before that, but when I was born, the baby stroller wouldn't fit in the Mustang, so she sold the Mustang to get the Gremlin, and till the day she died, I gave her shit for it because I'd much rather have been raised in a Gremlin. Anyways, in a Mustang. So I was sitting in the back seat, and I looked out the back window, and suddenly this face appeared, and it was awful. Awful face, frightening, like mongoloidy. Everything was just messed up, and it was so scary that I dove to the floor of the car, and I couldn't look up. But when I finally did, the face was gone, and my friend kind of came out, and I said, "Were you out on here like about 5-10 seconds ago?" He's like, "No, I just walked up," and I looked, and there's no one else in the street, and he was adamant. He wasn't someone that would lie, and it wasn't his face anyways. It was just, I can't explain it, but it stuck with me. And I was like 5 or 6, and I'm like 48. So you're looking at a long time to remember that face. So that was kind of the first thing. And it was frightening. It was very frightening. About 5-6 years later, a buddy of mine and I were out in the woods. My family had this cabin on a lake here. And we'd always go play out in the woods. And we were coming back one night at dusk, and we were on this trail that we usually take and go by all the same trees. And underneath one of the trees as we were walking by, we saw... It was like this little lean-to, a fire pit that was tiny, and a bone inside the lean-to. And this is all more like doll-sized kind of stuff, but it was weird.
Even funner.
Yeah, even funner, right? It made no sense. And it was dusk, and we saw this, and we got this uneasy feeling, so we got out of there. Next morning, we woke up first thing, and it's like, we got to go back and take a look at that. I can't believe we saw it. We talked about it almost all night. So we went back to the same spot, and there was no sign any of that had been there. Even the pine needles were covering where that would have been. So those two things are kind of what really kicked off, just wondering what the fuck is going on in the world around us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's always stuck with me. And through time, I've just kind of done my own research and reading and, come back at it off and on sporadically. And then really kind of started doing this, as a full-time, not just a hobby, but a full-time thing with Vancouver Paranormal in 2017.
So you're from Canada. You're from Canada, eh?
Canadian. Yeah, I'm from Canada, eh?
Say, eh? I practiced that, and I still messed it up.
It's only real Canadians can do the A properly.
Yeah, Massachusetts
bad,
people
right?
cannot do the A.
Well, that's not a 100% area, bud, because I'm not a Canadian, but I'm pretty good at my A's, eh?
So that's pretty convincing. I gotta
but she also does Elmo and Cookie Monster and.
There you go.
Yeah, she's good at it.
Well, that works. I mean, it's like me trying to do a hey y'all. Like I couldn't do, you know what I mean? Like,
I can't even do that. No. But Massachusetts.
This was the bears from Brother Bear. Oh, you're not a bear? Well, you're one big beaver, eh?
That's great.
That was perfect. That was perfect.
It was. Oh.
I'm gonna put Tim Hortons afterwards. Get the Shay put in there. I could do a Shay Canadian. Oh my god, a Shay Canadian.
Jesus, that's great.
What is that all about, eh?
It's a boot. It's a boot. It's a boot.
That is awesome. Oh, I forget where I was even going. Can we just do this for the rest of the show? Because the show is about showing personality, and this is definitely showing our personalities.
It's awesome. No, it's very good. That was totally convincing.
It was. I believe. I would not have known she was from Texas.
Well,
you couldn't dare. No, you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And this is my don't scare people accent, because I grew up a big portion of my life in New Orleans. And when I rock around, I'm going like, hey, y'all, what's up, doing? And people are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So I'm like, hi, how can I help you? I became a server to get through college.
My show is not long enough to start with what's wrong with Ashley.
There's no show long enough.
Yeah, right.
We've got a few years.
Okay. She's having fun when she snorts.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's a good. My wife's the same way.
Yeah.
Snorting starts when it's a really good time. Yeah.
All right, let's switch gears a little, because if we keep going, we'll never stop. Trust me.
No.
So you're right. There's no segue. I'm just gonna go for it. So you're writing a book?
Yeah. Just finished the second draft of it this week. So it's going to get sent off on Monday. We're doing it for Beyond the Fray Publishing, which is run by Shannon LeGros, who does, Into the Fray podcast, and G. Michael Hopps, who's a USA Today bestselling author. So yeah, and it's chronicling kind of Peter's paranormal experiences. Peter Wren, who I work with on the show and with Vancouver Paranormal, because he's got so many good stories to tell. So it's kind of like a bit about his life and then what got him into it, and then just some of his big cases that he's had. And the book ends with the beginning of We Want to Believe, the series. So the hope is, we'll get to write a second book and talk all about the stuff that we've done on the show and the experiences we've had, etc. Which has been great. It's been so much fun to write the book and just share these kind of messed up stories. And we put a lot of fact history that we can in terms of the paranormal and the different possible explanations for it, scientifically and non-scientifically. And it's been a great experience. I was a journalist for newspapers, so it's nice to kind of write again and do that kind of thing again as well. So I'm pretty excited for it. Hopefully, if all goes well, knock on wood or whatever, it'll be out by Christmas time. I think that'd be really cool.
I knocked on wood for you.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I'm a big believer in that one. And I was just about to ask that. I mean, how cool is it that you get to not only bring your journalistic background, but you get to bring your film making background and your production knowledge into your passion? I mean, I would love to be tech savvy and video savvy, but that's never going to fucking happen. Like, it's not on the cards for me. So it's very cool when investigators have that niche to go with the paranormal, because it makes it a lot easier in the grand scheme of things.
It does, and I never thought, and it's funny because we wouldn't be talking a year ago, because I never thought any of this would fucking happen. It was just that kind of thing that just kind of came to life, that perfect storm of everything kind of just working out. I mean, I'm a big believer everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I've done this other show called From the Basement for almost 11 years that Sean and I do, and it's a film show. It's a film review show. So I always figured my film background, that's where it ended up. That was the purpose behind it. But it was through the film, doing From the Basement, and all the contacts we've made through that. Like my editor, I'd be remiss not to mention, on We Want to Believe, Jason D. Morris, I met because he made this award-winning documentary that we interviewed him about on From the Basement. And so when the chance to do the show came up, he's like, I'd love to edit it for you. So it wouldn't look as good as it did if he wasn't editing it. There's just no other ifs, ands, or buts. In fact, we're on Joe Blow Horror Videos. The guy who runs that, John Fallon, is a filmmaker who I met from the Basement. We became friends. So it's just how everything, the synchronicity of everything kind of coming together to do it. And the book was strictly by accident, too. It was like that we were being interviewed on Into the Fray, and Shannon said to Peter, your stories are great, you should write a book. And he's like, I don't know anything about writing a book. And in my head, it's like, I sure do. So when we went off the air, I talked to him about it and then talked to her, and it just kind of happened that way. So I wouldn't have met her if I didn't interview her about On the Trail of UFO. You know what I mean? Like all these things coming together, it's been a gift. Like I'm feeling really lucky right now, and to be able to talk to cool people like you, just to, promote it and talk about the paranormal. Like you just meet this whole other community doing this kind of thing.
Everything kind of sparks to life in a different way almost when you get to be so open about that part of yourself. Because it's still that, even though they have TV shows and stuff, it's still taboo to most people. So being able to find communities, entire communities, where
it's a weird cross. It's a weird cross between taboo and entertainment. Like
absolutely,
like you got to find that middle. You got to find that middle ground. That's those are your peeps.
Mm-hmm. And that's sort of what we've been doing, because I know when I never talked about my interest in the paranormal much outside of certain kinds of people, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you do, you just get these looks and all that. And it's kind of been unfortunate, because since I've started doing the show and really talking about it, there's some people who haven't talked to since I started doing it, because they just kind of look at you funny and they don't want anything to do with you. And I think that says more about them than what I'm doing. Because I know Sean on We Want to Believe in From the Basement, he's a skeptic. He's an atheist. He's a skeptic. He doesn't believe in it. But he and I have been best friends for a quarter of a century. You know what I mean? So there's people who can find that common ground because they're all comfortable playing within that. But there's a lot of people that don't want to. Oh, we do, of course. He keeps me grounded, and I kind of keep him open-minded, right? And that's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
But some people, I think, dealing with the paranormal, because they do think it's just ghosts and all that, for them, that's death, and there's a whole big chunk of the population that doesn't want to think about that.
Yeah,
or
I agree.
anything to do with it.
It's
Yeah.
morbid,
That's what
it's
drives
devil
skepticism.
worshipping, it's...
Oh yeah, or it's satanic. I mean, heaven forbid
You're
you could try to be a
possessed if you're
Christian and believe in
psychic.
it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's interesting stuff that way. But I look at it, then you meet and talk to the people you're supposed to, and they're the important people you
That's
keep
what
around.
I'm saying. You got to find that middle where it's not too dramatic, not too entertainment only. But once you find them, you know them, you recognize them.
Oh yeah, you sure do.
Yeah.
You sure do, and they stick around, and they come out of nowhere, and then there's suddenly they're there in your life, and that's something to be thankful for,
It's
right?
me and Ashley,
it's
right
a
there.
good thing.
Shay hasn't been able to get me off her front porch for like 3 years.
She's lying, but if she lived around here, I would not get rid of her. But
No. Be under your bed every night.
yeah. Ashley. Is that a monster right here? No, just Ashley. Don't worry. Go back to sleep.
It's me. Can I get a blanket? Jeez.
Oh, jeez. We'll see. What does the audience want to take bets if Jason ever comes back or not? $5 bets.
Earlier,
Let's go.
When Matt was still egging us on about being together on the show, and I'm pretty sure that this is something we should actually do. You know, you have a disclaimer before your show about cursing and whatnot, but when I'm co-hosting, it should be the disclaimer: we will not pay for your therapy.
Yeah, I know you can't hear my intro, Jason, but afterwards you should go back and just listen to my intro, and then you'll see why
Okay, I will.
You'll see why I like you so much.
Awesome. No, I'm having a great time. So this is fun, just to kind of
it's
talk about all that.
This is what I like. I want to show people that paranormal investigators are real. I mean, you're a smart man. We can all tell that. But we're real, and we have real backstories, and it's not that easy to get it all into an hour, but I like to show personality, and because your personality shows who you are, and it shows whether you're a good person, bad person, and that's what I like to do.
No, and I thank you for it, because so many times when you do talk about something, they just want to hear scary stories. You know what I mean? Like people just want, just tell me all the scary stories and things you've seen, right?
Yeah.
Or talk about just the science of it, which that's all well and good.
That's volume 4.
Nice
That's when you come back the 4th time.
That's right. We've got all the personality over with.
Yeah.
And I've told all the jokes we can, and we'll get into
the real
more
stuff.
meat and potatoes of it, right?
Yeah.
But it's people I think it's good to do that, and we try to do that on the show too. Like we're trying to show the process and the evidence, but also just show that we're people and let the humor come out, and just the different personalities and perspectives on things. That's why we ended up. It was Jason Morris's idea to do those video journals where we just kind of cut us in our own environment talking about things.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah,
I really think your
really
personality shows your inner. Like, it's hard for me to explain, but I do think it's a window. It doesn't show the full thing, but it's a window into who a person is.
You're just
totally it is.
All on the table, basically. Everything on the sleeve. It's I don't know. And I think it's just maybe because we're really good at reading people. Shay might not be a psychic or whatever, but she's real good at just feeling people's energies and knowing whether they're complete bullshit or not.
Yeah, it's street smarts from growing up in Massachusetts.
There you go.
Wicked street smarts.
Wicked.
But I mean, it is, because I kind of did it last minute because I completely forgot that it was this early. Like I thought it was later in October when she was like, "You still ready?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'm still ready," but I forgot. But so I did as much homework as I could and didn't get around to watching the stuff. But I mean, everything that I've seen and just the interactions, I didn't get to watch all the videos. But like I said, everything that we've seen thus far is very telling as to how short and sweet can always sometimes be better.
You can.
And it's very refreshing, because when you have a day and age where it's people doing nothing but YouTube channels trying to get monetized, so they add in the fake effects and they over dramatize it all, and it's jump scares.
We call it on Shay's Paranormal Chat. We call it the douchebag effects.
Yes. Come and touch me.
Sorry, Matt.
70 feet when they finally touch you, like, let's not. But it's very surreal to find people nowadays who are doing it, not necessarily for the right reasons, but reasons that I can get behind. People. There's a lot of people, I think, who, I mean, they've seen the Zach Bagginses and stuff like that make a buck at it, and but I mean, at some point, your credibility gets tossed out the window if you're serious about it. Credibility isn't a thing on YouTube. Like, I can't tell you, and it maddens me because there are so many YouTube paranormal channels now where it's just like 17, 18-year-old kids breaking into abandoned locations first and foremost, so breaking the law while they're doing it. And then having their buddy in like a costume or something. You know what I'm saying? And people be like, oh my God, that's amazing evidence. And I'm like, no, you can't, not everybody sees those happenings and those instances the way we see it with that, okay, there's real and there's not. They see what they want to see and they're like, oh my God, that's so awesome. And it's a quick scare and it's entertainment and there's no debunking when it comes. Yes, and there's no debunking when it comes to people who have millions and millions of viewers that are just used to what these guys say. You know what I'm saying? They don't do anything.
That's how they learned it, though. That's my only issue. Mm-hmm. And I think, and I once in a great while, I do throw this out there. I think Zach Baggins is a very smart man. He capitalized on something.
He does it on purpose.
Mm-hmm. But it's entertainment, and the people that get into the paranormal or quote unquote ghost hunting don't realize it's entertainment, and they're also there for weeks at a time, and they, in my humble opinion, can sometimes those types of shows, not you, Zach, love you, can fake things.
And get away with it because
it's entertainment. Yeah. So, but that's what they're learning. I'm sure
he knows that too. Yeah.
So isn't it on us?
He puts the whole theatrical side on. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Isn't it on us to educate people that that's not how it really is?
Yes, because when they go into these locations, like all of these YouTubers who are just and they sometimes go to really dangerous places. When you're going there and you're just doing whatever you can to stir up all of the energy, all of the spirits. And then you leave that place, you're not only leaving your energy in that area, all that negativity that you've just brought there, you have no fucking clue what's going to attach to you, whatever is on you. Like,
well, you deserve it. How about the next innocent person that has no idea about the paranormal that walks in there or walks close enough that gets attacked or attached? That's exactly
what I'm saying, though, is when you leave that energy there, you're leaving it for somebody else to deal with.
Yeah.
They're not. Exactly. Yeah. There's no safety anymore. There's absolutely no safety. It baffles me how many people take people on public events and don't cleanse them before and after.
Or do something after, right? Mm-hmm. Like even just sort of say, okay, I'm going now. You're not allowed to follow me home. You can just say that.
That's what we always tell people.
Yeah. That's part of what our cleansings include, though. And when we first get there, we make our intentions very clear, and then when we leave, same. But the cleansings, I always take down whatever religious rite or ritual people feel most comfortable with, because again, that's what's going to work for everybody. You can't just say one prayer for everyone and hope it's going to work, you know. So I actually do them remotely, and I do my cleansings because I'm a little bit of a, whatever you want to call it, voodoo, Wiccan, I don't know. I do some hoodoo and voodoo and juju and all that good stuff. But I be cleansing people, and I do it according to their religious sects, because you have to care about those people. You can't just take someone into a location like that and be like, oh, well, if something happens to you, fuck off. Thanks for the money.
Yep.
Like, that's not how this should work at all. And I feel like people like you making a platform like this, it's going to grab their attention enough to be like, oh, maybe I've been looking at it the wrong way. So this is perfect.
And it is real. I can't, we're being funny and having fun because we're so excited about Jason being on tonight. But if I'm saying, watch it, it's real. My listeners know it's real. Like, check it out, people.
Well, thank you. That's our hope, is that people will see it and that we can present. And that's the only way Peter would do it. Because Netflix has approached him, so many different production companies, Discovery Channel, to do shows with them. And he said no because he knew how it was going to be portrayed. So when he and I talked about it, he trusted me enough that it's like, no, let's do this and do it right and show it the right way. And that's, show it raw and real. And that's what we're doing it for. And that's why I think have Sean there as our skeptic to kind of keep counterbalance. And it's the important thing. Because otherwise, if we faked one thing, as far as I'm concerned, we'd be done. And Peter and I couldn't even go in and do investigations again because the credibility shot. So get out of the profession at that point.
All right. I have one more question, and then we'll see if Ashley has another one. What is your best piece of you can see me, they can't evidence? I say data, but you said, you had the wrong answer. You said evidence, so no.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
What's the best thing you've ever captured that you would show somebody that said, that's not real?
That's not real?
If somebody said, paranormal's not real, what's the one thing you would go to show them?
I have a really good EVP of a spirit calling me a fucking prick.
Yes, I've been called worse, so.
I'm sure. I was.
I'm
was
sure.
Just honored,
did you just say I'm sure?
I'm sure. Well, I'm sure there's got to be worse things that spirits have said to people. Not so much to you, but what I mean, just in general, right? And then we did get a kill them once, which we actually got during our demon jar investigation. Kill them.
Yeah, I seen some of that. I haven't finished it, but I did start the demon jar because it caught my attention. Because demon jar, that catches people's attention.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah,
that does. So. It's the way it worked out. We felt kind of oddly fortunate to get that on our first episode that we ever tried filming, and also kind of ripped off. But that, I think, that EVP, those two EVPs, I think so far have been the one where it's like, well, no, but hear this. Do you know what I mean? Like it's distinct. There's no mistaking it. It's an intelligent response to a question I'm asking. Obviously, the spirit was upset with me, continuing asking these questions, and he just called me a fucking prick. That was that.
Hey, my mother is in chat. And the co-owner of Paranormal Buzz Radio is in chat, and they are loving the fact that you just said, I'm sure. They're eating it up. My mother added more than once, Shay.
Oh,
So.
Mama, Dad, you got every now and then. She for real. She was quick on that. She said more than one, Shay.
Oh, she was. She was very quick. Oh, she was very quick.
I do have one last question.
Go ahead.
Though.
Yep, that was my next thing.
So, out of everything in the paranormal, which aspect of it gets your goat the most? Do you like the cryptids, the aliens and UFOs and extraterrestrials, or do you like the ghostesses, or which part is your favorite?
I really like doing the paranormal and the ghost stuff. I really do enjoy that. Partly because it's accessible. But when we went out and did our Bigfoot hunt, like our Squatch Hunt episodes, that was fun. To go out looking for Bigfoot is a hoot. I'd love to do it more, and just because. But
until
so far it's still...
you find him, and then he takes you and does ungodly things because you don't have.
Well, that's a horrible. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that's why I'm not so excited about it. Because what do you do when you find one, right? It's like, oh shit, now what?
That's what I would do. I would shit. That's exactly what I would do.
But yeah, I love the paranormal investigation stuff, the ghost stuff. I just find it interesting and rewarding, and it's also a lot of fun to do it.
It is.
It is more interactive than just sitting around and basically, walking and waiting, because there's not a lot of interaction that you can have with something you can't fucking find.
Well, if I'm in the woods, I'm panicking. I am afraid. I'm a paranormal investigator that is afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of the woods. I do it, but no. Looking for Bigfoot, I would be like, no. You better bring 3 rolls of toilet paper. No.
Okay, so that is and I'm pretty sure that everybody knows that this is false, but just in case. So my favorite snack is beef jerky. And so when I be walking trails, when I do Sasquatch hunts or go around in Broken Bow on the trails looking for them, I bring a pack for me and a pack for him. Because just in case.
I'll bring a case just to throw it at him.
That's exactly. I can at least throw it at him to distract him.
Yeah,
but
and run.
anything, we could end up chilling and eating beef jerky together.
Yep.
But
There
I
you go.
always bring a treat for Bigfoot.
That'd be a good idea. And if you could, bring some BC weed too, because I'd totally chill out.
I don't know if he'd, be able to.
You might mix them in with the beef jerky. That'd work. Whatever works, right?
Oh my god, dude, edible beef jerky? You just fucking blew my mind. You know what that's about? That's fucking.
I can't even. Oh my god. Oh, this was great. This is great. No, Jason, really, come back.
I would love to.
I'm not going to embarrass myself by messaging you, but if you want to come back, message me, and then I'll know you really weren't insulted by being on the show, because it's hard to tell sometimes when people are live on air.
I had so much fun. That has been a blast. It's a great way to start my weekend. Thank you.
Awesome. You want to give out your social media? Where can people find you?
Okay, well, you can find We Want to Believe on Facebook. We Want to Believe the series. We also have a Twitter account, We Want to Believe, and an Instagram, which is We Want to Believe the series as well. And then I'm on Instagram at jhewlett72, Twitter at jasonhewlett72, and then you can also just find me on Facebook as well.
So, and if anybody needs to find them and can't, just shoot Paranormal Buzz Radio a message or email.
Awesome.
And we will get it out there. I would love to.
I'm actually putting them all in the chat right now for you.
Yeah, she's good about
Excellent.
that.
Thank you.
No problem.
I still don't have my glasses. I still can't read, so I did pretty good for me tonight. Next week, Ashley, you're back with me next week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a psychic medium coming on next week, so.
What?
Yeah, so should be interesting. But let's see. And if I missed anybody in chat again, sorry. All my listeners know I broke my glasses. I can't read, and I do the best I can. So, but this was awesome, Jason. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to volumes 2, 3, and 4.
Awesome. Me too.
Yeah.
It'll be a good time.
5 and 6 if you survive.
Yeah, if you survive.
If I survive.
It depends on your mood. So, all right, hold on one second, guys. All right, guys. Good night. We will see you next week if I survive my next 36-hour tour that I got coming up this weekend. Hey, Kim. Thank you. I'm sorry I missed you earlier. Thanks, Kim, for joining us. And Ashley's still putting those in there. So we will be back next week at the same time.